name is Inez Jordan, the Assistant Vice President of Diversity and Inclusion.
My name is Laura Hyder, and I'm an Assistant Vice President for Diversity and Inclusion.
My name is Arena Riley, and I am the Regional Director for the North Shore and Gulf Coast region.
Hi everybody, my name is John Green. I'm the Regional Director for Diversity and Inclusion here serving North Louisiana of the Ochsner LSU Health Partnership.
My name is Dr. Wes Heath, and I serve as the Regional Director for Diversity and Inclusion in the Bayou region and for St. Bernard Parish Hospital.
Greetings. My name is Tanya Bolden-Ball, and I'm the Regional Director of Diversity and Inclusion for Ochsner Lafayette General.
When I served in the Marine Corps, starting back in 1994. Through that experience, I was able to see firsthand how people who do not have the same background for the most part in so many different facets within that military structure, they can still come together in the midst of their differences and find that one commonality, which is to serve together to accomplish any mission laid before us as a unit. And that's something I take with me still to this day.
My mother and my father and my grandmother had the biggest influence on my life. My mother was a nurse, my father was a policeman, and my grandmother was a teacher. So I guess you're saying, for obvious reasons, why I became a nurse. My father and I, we would have deep conversations on a lot of things. And by him being a policeman, we would examine things that were going on in the community, things I may witness. And I might have a response as, well, that's not fair. And of course, his comeback would be, well, life ain't fair. And so we would laugh about some of the things that we would, have those conversations. But he would always say that I can make a difference.
An event that really had impact on my life was in 2008. I was invited to give the commencement address as a keynote speaker for the University of Louisiana at Lafayette College of General Studies. Why did that have a huge impact on my life? Because I stood on the very same stage that I had walked across as a teenager, 18 years old, pregnant with my son. He then in turn walked across that very same stage to receive his high school diploma. And there I stood as an alum of the university giving the commencement address at the Cajun Dome. That moment made me realize that my voice had power and I could really use it for the greater good to encourage and equip people to become their best selves.
I don't remember a time when fairness and equity weren't important to me.
I grew up in an era that didn't have resources for gay children. And as a gay child, I felt alone, I felt isolated. Everywhere I turned, being gay was told that it was wrong. And I recall this one incident, I recall this one time when I went to the library to find out what resources the library had around being gay. And at that time, I really didn't even have a word for it. So I remember sneaking into the library and walking down each aisle to see if I could find any books in particular that I felt explained the way I was feeling, which at the time I felt like I was the only one in the world that felt that was gay, that really knew what those feelings were like. And I remember coming up on this one aisle and it had a book with two men on the cover. And the larger section of this shelf simply just said, I think it was Alternative Sexualities was the title of this shelf in this area. And there were probably maybe 15 books in total in this quote unquote section. And I felt an overwhelming sense of shame the moment that I found it. And I remember people would walk by and I would hurry up and move a couple of sections down and pretend like I was looking at other books so that people wouldn't see me in that particular aisle with those particular books, because I didn't know how they would feel. And I didn't know if them knowing would make me feel differently. This was a time in my life where I was living a double life around everyone, even those that I cared about and even those who I knew loved me, because being different in our social world means being an outcast. And there are people that would hate me without even knowing me. because of this identity. And even as a kid, I could feel that.
My mother is a retired nurse for over 40 years, and I remember going to work with her at a hospital in Cleveland, Ohio. She was one of the only Black females to graduate from her nursing school. I saw how hard she worked the long hours as a head nurse. I pledged then never to work in healthcare. I mean, who would choose to walk in the suffering and vulnerability of another human being in some of the most tragic circumstances? So I went the industrial engineering and computer science route. I wanted a career that would make the lives of people like my mother easier, but in a different industry.
I had a very sheltered upbringing in rural Utah, but as one of 5 daughters, I had an early exposure to injustice. Where I grew up, girls just weren't as important as boys. It was a truth that was written into the marrow of my bones, and I was never not infuriated by it.
And my mother was a nurse, and she was always, sharing her abilities with people and trying to make sure people understood what their responsibilities as it relates to going to the doctors and getting your exams.
So the first time I came out to anyone, I think I was 18 years old. And after that, I knew that I wanted to get into diversity work because I didn't want other people to feel this way in any part of their social life, let alone going through school, going through college, or even at work.
A life-changing moment for me was early on in my engineering career. In those years, I was the only Black engineer in a predominantly white male environment. Our company had huge injection molding machines with 2 halves of a mold that would clamp shut. Then hot plastic would fill the mold to make parts, like the blue bins that store supplies in our facilities. My job was to improve the process, make the environment safer, and reduce the number of mistakes. In my first 60 days, we had a death at one of our facilities. A machine that used 1,000 tons of pressure to hold the mold together closed with an employee inside. I will never forget the tears the plant manager shed as he talked about the event to his peers. Can you imagine 1,000 tons? That's similar to the pressure you would feel from 70 city buses stacked on top of you. I realized then that I wanted to fight and help return those men back to their families after a day's work. If not better than when they walked in, at least not broken. I eventually made the transition to healthcare where my passion and purpose aligns.
Why do I do D&I work? Because I believe that we all should have access to the seat at the table. Not only be granted access, but make sure we get the seat, and also understand that the menu we have access to, driven by patients first, integrity, compassion, inclusivity, excellence, and teamwork. Those items have to always be on the menu in order for us to be our best selves, not just professionally, but personally as well. So for me, D&I is embedded in who I am because I believe in advocating for others, whether they have a voice or not. And if they don't have a voice, getting them to recognize that their voice is valuable and we need it.
Work. Why am I in diversity and inclusion? I realized early in my career that I had a passion for helping people, community service, and making things fair or making things right.
Through my work with disadvantaged high school students and then later with homeless women and children, I came to understand in profound and personal ways how different kinds of advantage and disadvantage operate. There was no difference between the homeless women that I worked with and me, except I was born into a middle-class family that valued education and made sure that I had access to it. I also had the advantages of being white and cisgender and able-bodied. The difference between me and these women who were struggling to just claw their way out of poverty was nothing more than an accident of birth. Given the same set of circumstances, I might not even do as well as they were doing.
Losing that employee solidified my commitment to spend my life trying to make sure employees are cared for, seen, and valued. I think fighting for and taking care of others is in my DNA.
So I do diversity work because I want to be a part of changing lives. I want to be a part of making teams stronger. I want to be a part of making teams more compassionate and more productive. I know that diversity work is challenging. And I think the best way to describe what diversity work is by acknowledging what it isn't. Diversity work isn't about making everyone happy. It isn't about solving world problems in the course of one meeting. And it really isn't about checking boxes or following a formula.
When my sister started going to daycare, so we're 12 years apart, and I begged my mom for a sibling to play with, and I didn't get one until I was old enough to help raise her, I'm going to let that go. My mom worked night shifts, so I would drop my sister off to school before I went to high school. The first day was devastating. Not for my little sister. I was the one sitting in the parking lot after I took her in, crying that ugly cry, drooling, snot everywhere. It was a hot mess. She was fine. I thought I was having a heart attack. Having a younger sister keeps me in touch with my youth. I love to play, engage the creative mind, have fun, use humor, and connect, even when it's difficult.
I'm passionate about this work based on that background experience and also based on how I was brought up by my parents, which allowed me to see that there are people here within this system, within my region, as within other regions within the state, who have the superpower of being that unique individual. We are a system full of individuals who have different ideas, different opinions, different voices that all need to be heard in one shape, form, or fashion. And who knows, within that uniqueness of any individual that serves within the Ochsner Health system, there may be one idea, one person that can push this organization even further and higher than even we imagine today.
Every time I go to work, it's something different. Diversity work is personal. It's about passion and it's about storytelling. Diversity work is hard and it's supposed to make you uncomfortable. That's what makes it so challenging. But being uncomfortable is how we grow as an individual, it's how we grow as an organization, it's how we grow as a society.
What do I wish people to know about me? I love who I am and I love the skin I'm in. I am Mississippi born, Louisiana raised, and I just love everything about Tanya Bolden-Ball, and I really love my Lafayette community. So I am Tanya Bolden-Ball, the Regional Director of Diversity and Inclusion here at Ochsner Lafayette General. Diversity, equity, and inclusion matters.
At the end of the day, diversity work is about cultural change. It's about creating a culture where everyone is embraced and everyone is celebrated for who they are and what they bring to work.
I think one thing that I hope that people will learn about me is that I love to talk. It may not seem like I do, somewhat shy sometimes, but once you open me up, you'll be frustrated because you can't shut me up. But I just truly enjoy engaging with people and hearing their backgrounds, hearing where they came from, listening to the stories that they have to share, because from those stories, there's something maybe that I can hear that I can use to further enhance my life and my way of thinking. And that's truly what diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging is all about anyway. Connecting, storytelling, sharing, learning.
And what do I want you to know about me? That I'm always a nurse first. If you want to know what I do and why I do the things I do, just understand I'm always a nurse first.
In the end, we really all want the same thing. We want to belong. We want to have the freedom and the empowerment to be who we were meant to be, and we want to love and be loved. The work I do is a labor of love. My dream is to work myself out of a job, and I really hope that's what happens.
And I do this work because it's what I truly care about. It is personal for me, but it's also personal for my friends and the people that I care about. It's personal because it is challenging, and it's personal because it's what I've dedicated my life to. And I love what I do.
Laura, my colleague, reminded me of our team's why. We transform our culture and our world through embracing the dignity, worth, and potential of every person